I'm recording this at 3:47 a.m. with my third glass of Malbec because sleep is for people who haven't just destroyed the man they were supposed to marry in 2 weeks. My cat Pixel is staring at me from across the room like she knows exactly what I did. She's right to judge me. I just sent my fiancé's entire fraudulent pitch deck to the SEC, along with 47 pages of evidence that will end his career before it even starts. And the sick part? I'd do it again. Let me back up, because 6 months ago, I would have taken a bullet for Marcus Chen. 6 months ago, I was building our future in our Austin loft apartment, coding until my eyes burned while he brought me coffee and called me his brilliant little genius. 6 months ago, I believed love and business could mix. God, I was so stupid. Marcus and I met at a SXSW after party 2 years ago. I was the awkward developer in the corner, nursing a beer and checking GitHub on my phone while everyone else networked. He walked up in his perfectly fitted blazer, that devastating smile, and said, "Either you're antisocial or you're building something that's about to change the world." Both, I'd answered, and he laughed like I'd just told him the secret to life. Within 3 hours, I was showing him the prototype for Data Vault, my encryption software that could revolutionize how startups protect their intellectual property. The irony of that isn't lost on me now. Within 3 weeks, we were dating. Within 3 months, he'd moved into my apartment, bringing nothing but designer clothes, a MacBook, and promises about how we'd build an empire together. Marcus had the one thing I didn't: the ability to sell ice to Eskimos. While I could code for 16 hours straight, the thought of pitching to investors made me want to vomit. He saw that immediately. "You build, I'll sell," he said one night, pulling me against him on our balcony while downtown Austin glittered below us. "Dream team, baby. You're the genius, I'm the voice. We'll be the next tech power couple, like Steve Jobs and a female Steve Wozniak, who he actually appreciated." I should have run when he couldn't even name a female tech founder. But his hands were in my hair, his lips were on my neck, and I was 26 years old thinking I'd found my soulmate who actually understood my work. Pixel had hated him from day one. She'd hiss whenever he tried to pet her, and once she peed in his Gucci loafers. I thought she was just territorial. Turns out, cats can smell bullshit better than humans. For a year we were unstoppable. I coded 18-hour days surviving on Red Bull and Marcus's Thai food deliveries. He practiced pitches in our living room mirror, using my technical specifications to craft stories that made venture capitalists lean forward in their chairs. Data Vault grew from a sketch on my iPad to a fully functional platform that could protect everything from source code to financial records with military-grade encryption that was somehow user-friendly enough for your grandmother. "We need to incorporate," Marcus said one morning, making breakfast while I debugged a particularly nasty piece of code. "Make it official. Protect what we're building." That word again. Protect. He was always talking about protecting things. Protecting our idea. Protecting our relationship. Protecting me from the harsh world of venture capital. I was too deep in love and code to notice he was mostly interested in protecting himself. The incorporation papers appeared one evening when I was exhausted from a 48-hour coding marathon. "Just sign here, babe," he said, pointing to highlighted lines. "Standard stuff, 50-50 partnership, just like we talked about." I signed, of course I signed. He was wearing the cologne I loved, had just brought me my favorite sushi, and was massaging my shoulders while whispering about our future. A house in Westlake, maybe kids who'd inherit my brain and his charisma. The whole fantasy. If you're screaming at your screen right now to read the fine print, congratulations, you're smarter than a woman in love with a narcissist. The first time I should have known something was wrong was when Marcus started taking preliminary meetings without me. "You hate these anyway," he said, buttoning his shirt one morning while I sat cross-legged on our bed with my laptop. "Just coffee with potential investors. Feeling them out. You keep building, I'll handle the politics." It made sense. I did hate those meetings. Watching middle-aged men in Patagonia vests explain my own technology back to me incorrectly while Marcus smiled and redirected made me want to scream. So I stayed home with Pixel, pushing Data Vault toward perfection while Marcus did what he did best: charm people. The meetings multiplied. Coffee became lunch, became dinner, became weekend trips to meet investors in San Francisco, New York, Miami. He'd come back with business cards, stories about who was interested, who wasn't, what they wanted to see in our next demo. They love the vision, he'd say, pulling me into bed after another trip. But they want to see more. Can you add predictive threat detection, maybe some AI components? So I did. I added everything he asked for. Every feature, every modification, every pivot that came from these mysterious investors I never met. I was building our dream while he was selling it. Or so I thought. Actually, if you've ever had a partner who kept you away from important meetings for your own good, hit that like button right now. Trust me, it gets worse. 3 months ago, Marcus had a minor car accident on his way back from another investor meeting. Nothing serious, just a fender bender, but they kept him overnight for observation after he complained about neck pain. I rushed to the hospital with his laptop bag, which he'd called me frantically about 3 times to make sure I brought. While he was getting his MRI, his laptop kept pinging. Notification after notification, his email was open and I saw the subject line of the latest one, Re-Datavault Solo Founder Pitch Deck Essential. Solo Founder, my hands were shaking as I opened it. There it was. Our pitch deck. My technology. My code architecture. My innovation. But my name wasn't anywhere on it. Every slide said Marcus Chen, founder and CEO. Every single slide. The attachments went back weeks. Different versions, each iteration removing more traces of me. The latest one even had a fake origin story about how he developed the initial concept during his time at Stanford. Marcus never went to Stanford. He went to community college for 1 semester before dropping out to become a serial entrepreneur, which is what guys like him call being unemployed with confidence. When he woke up groggy from pain meds, I was sitting in the corner with his laptop. Babe, he started, seeing my face. It's not what it looks like. It looks like you're pitching my company without me. Our company. And it's just strategy, okay? These old school VCs, they're not ready for a female technical founder. But once we get funding, once we're established, we'll fix everything. This is for us. He reached for my hand. I let him take it. I even squeezed back. Because I needed him to think I believed him while I figured out what to do. Pixel knew something was wrong the moment I got home. She wouldn't leave my side, following me from room to room, meowing whenever I stopped moving. That night, I started documenting everything. For the next 2 months, I became a detective in my own life. Screenshot by screenshot, I built a case that would make any lawyer weep with joy. Git commits showing I'd written 96% of the code base. Emails where Marcus asked me to explain technical concepts so he could present them better. Text messages where he called me his secret weapon and the real genius behind Datavault. The deeper I dug, the sicker I felt. He'd been planning this for months. Maybe from the beginning. The incorporation papers I'd signed? They included clauses that would let him buy me out for pennies if the relationship ended. The apartment lease, only his name. The patent applications he'd said he was filing, never filed or filed under his name alone. But the worst part was finding the calendar invitation hidden in his deleted items. A private demo for Apex Ventures, the biggest VC firm in Texas, scheduled for next Friday at 2 p.m. The location, our apartment. My home, where I'd built everything. The demo was titled Datavault, a Marcus Chen innovation. That night, I sat on our balcony with Pixel in my lap, watching the Austin skyline blur through tears I refused to let fall. Marcus was inside, practicing his pitch in the mirror, completely unaware that I knew everything. He'd even stolen my technical explanation style, the way I used metaphors to make complex encryption sound simple. It's like having a bouncer for your data, he was saying, my words in his mouth. But this bouncer has a photographic memory and never takes a break. I wanted to throw up. I wanted to scream. I wanted to burst in there and strangle him with the HDMI cable he used to practice presentations on our TV. Instead, I did something worse. I started planning. The next morning, I woke up before Marcus and did something I'd never done before. I locked him out of the GitHub repository. Weird glitch, I said when he tried to access it later. I'll fix it after I debug this authentication issue. He believed me because Marcus had never written a line of code in his life. He could barely restart his router without help. but he could sure as hell take credit for understanding his product inside and out. Over the next 3 days, I carefully documented every single NDA he'd violated. See, when you're pitching to major firms, they make you sign papers saying you won't share their feedback or internal processes with competitors. Marcus, in his desperation to seem connected, had been forwarding these confidential emails to other investors as proof of interest. Look, Apex is interested, you should be too, kind of thing. That's not just unethical, that's illegal. I also did something else. I embedded a tiny piece of code deep in the Data Vault demo build. Nothing malicious. Just a little trigger that would display the true Git commit history if someone tried to access the admin panel during a live demonstration. Complete with timestamps and my name on 96% of the commits. Marcus, who never went near the admin panel because he didn't actually understand how any of it worked, would never notice. If you've ever wanted to expose someone during their biggest moment, stay with me. This is where it gets good. Friday arrived like Christmas morning, if Christmas was actually a revenge plot. Marcus was up at dawn, pressing his shirt, practicing his pitch one more time. He'd sent me to a coffee shop saying he needed to get in the zone without distractions. Take Pixel with you, he said, not even looking at me. Her meowing throws off my rhythm. I packed up Pixel in her carrier, kissed him goodbye and wished him luck with a smile that could have won an Oscar. Then I went to the coffee shop and opened my laptop. The SEC has an anonymous tip line. Did you know that? They take corporate fraud very seriously, especially when it involves falsifying ownership of technology and violating federal NDAs. My tip included 47 pages of documentation, from Git commits to emails to screenshots of him literally asking me to explain the technology he was about to claim he invented. I hit send at 1:47 p.m., 13 minutes before his demo was scheduled to start. Then I did something else. I sent a similar package to 3 journalists who covered tech fraud, 2 of Marcus's previous investors who didn't know about his new solo venture, and most importantly to Jennifer Walsh, the senior partner at Apex Ventures who was about to hear Marcus's pitch. The subject line was simple: please read before your 2 p.m. meeting, urgent legal matter. At 2:03 p.m. my phone buzzed. Marcus, what did you do? I didn't respond. I was too busy walking into a different building 3 blocks away where Austin Tech Founders was hosting their monthly showcase. I'd registered last minute for an open slot, listing my company as Data Vault, the real story, and my presentation title as simply ownership. From what I heard later from someone who was in the room, Marcus's demo went something like this. He started strong, confident, walking through his vision for Data Vault. The Apex team seemed interested, especially Jennifer Walsh, who kept checking her phone with an increasingly concerned expression. 15 minutes in, she asked him to show the live product. Marcus, sweating but still smooth, pulled up the demo. Everything worked perfectly until Jennifer asked, "Can you show us the back-end architecture? We like to understand the technical depth." Marcus, who'd never voluntarily accessed the admin panel in his life, tried to deflect. But Jennifer insisted. She'd just read my email, you see? She wanted to watch him squirm. The moment he clicked into the admin panel, my little code surprise activated. The entire Git commit history flooded the screen. My name over and over and over. Timestamps going back 2 years. 96% of the code base. His name appeared exactly 4 times, all on README files I'd asked him to update. Interesting, Jennifer said, standing up. Mr. Chen, are you aware that falsifying ownership of intellectual property constitutes fraud? The room went silent. Marcus tried to explain, to spin it, to claim I was just a technical contractor he'd hired. But Jennifer was already pulling up my documentation on her phone, forwarding it to Apex's legal team. This meeting is over, she announced. And Mr. Chen, expect to hear from our lawyers. And probably the SEC. While Marcus was watching his future implode, I was across town standing in front of 40 startup founders and investors telling the real story of Data Vault. Not just the technology but the whole truth. The female founder who built it, the relationship that became a trap, the betrayal that almost cost me everything. The encryption protects your data, I explained, Pixel sitting calmly in her carrier beside the podium like a furry co-founder. But who protects you from the people you trust? The room was dead silent. Then someone started clapping. Then everyone was on their feet. I signed 3 provisional investment agreements that afternoon. Real ones with my name on them. Only my name. By the time I got home, Marcus was gone. He'd packed his things and left, but not before sending me a novel-length text about how I'd ruined his life, destroyed his reputation, and betrayed our love. He called me vindictive, calculating, evil. He was right about calculating. I'd calculated exactly what he deserved. That was 3 weeks ago. The SEC investigation is ongoing, but my lawyer says Marcus is looking at serious fines, possibly criminal charges for the NDA violations. Apex Ventures has blacklisted him from every major VC firm in the country. The tech journalists published articles with headlines like "The Faux Founder: How One Man Tried to Steal His Fiancé's Startup," and my personal favorite, "Austin Tech Bro Discovers Consequences." Data Vault just closed its Series A funding round. $5 million. My company, my name, my terms. Marcus has tried contacting me 17 times. Calls, texts, emails, even a handwritten letter that Pixel promptly used as a litterbox liner. He oscillates between apologizing and threatening to sue me for defamation. My lawyer laughs every time he forwards me the latest legal threat. Truth isn't defamation, she reminds me. And honey, you documented that truth beautifully. Look, if you're building something right now, whether it's a company, an app, or just a dream, protect it. Document everything. Trust your gut. And if your cat hates your partner, maybe listen to the cat. I'm not the same person I was 6 months ago. I'm harder now. Sharper. I sleep with my laptop beside my bed and I've encrypted everything twice. I check the fine print on everything, even restaurant receipts. Trust is a luxury I can't afford anymore. But I'm also stronger. Data Vault is thriving. We're hiring our first employees next month. I'm speaking at SXSW next year, on the main stage, about female founders and protecting intellectual property. The girl who was too scared to pitch is now booking keynotes. Pixel seems proud of me. She sits on my desk while I work, purring like she knew all along this would happen. Maybe she did. Maybe that's why she peed in his shoes. Marcus taught me something valuable, though not what he intended. He taught me that the person who shares your bed can steal your dreams. That love can be weaponized. That sometimes the most dangerous person in your life is the one who promises to protect you. But he also taught me that I didn't need him. I never did. The voice, the charm, the ability to work a room. I learned it all. Turns out when someone steals your work, you become very motivated to learn how to speak for yourself. Last night, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Marcus using a friend's phone. "I made you," it said. "Without me, you'd still be coding in obscurity." I screenshotted it, forwarded it to my lawyer, then blocked the number. But before I did, I typed back 3 words. "Watch me now," because here's the thing about stealing someone's work and calling it love, eventually they learn the difference. And when they do, when they finally see you for what you are, they don't just leave. They evolve, they become the person who doesn't need you, never needed you, and proves it to the world. Data Vault is now valued at $30 million. We're expanding to Europe next quarter. And my name? It's on every single document, every line of code, every success. Marcus was right about one thing though. We did build an empire together. He just never realized he was building it for me. Some people might judge me for what I did. They might say I should have confronted him privately, given him a chance to make it right, been the bigger person. To those people, I say come back when someone tries to steal 2 years of your life and call it a favor. Because I didn't just send that pitch deck to the SEC to destroy Marcus. I did it to save myself. To save Data Vault. To save every female founder who's ever been told to step back and let someone else take the credit for their brilliance. Was it revenge? Absolutely. Was it justified? That's for you to decide. But was it effective? Ask the $5 million in my company's bank account. Ask the 43 female founders who've reached out since the story broke, sharing their own tales of stolen code and credits. Ask Pixel, who sleeps peacefully now that the apartment doesn't smell like designer cologne and deception. Or better yet, ask Marcus, who's probably somewhere right now, in some coffee shop, trying to convince anyone, that he's the real victim here. That his crazy ex ruined his life over a misunderstanding. That he was just trying to help. But nobody's listening anymore. Because I didn't just take back my company. I took back my story. And this time I'm the only one telling it. If you've made it this far, you're probably either a founder, a survivor, or someone who loves a good revenge story. Maybe you're all three. Subscribe if you believe that the best revenge isn't just success, it's success with receipts. And remember, document everything. Trust your gut, and always listen to your cat. They know things. Pixel is purring as I post this. She approves. And somewhere in Austin tonight, Marcus Chen is learning what happens when you try to build an empire on someone else's code. You get defragmented.